animal, or?
I can't tell. All I know is my central light came on, and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man, or something that looks like a man. I don't know what it was, just it ran across the yard.
Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was, whatever it is, it's running. Couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it, but whatever it was in and out. I'm out here, come through the window now, and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better... Tia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
You see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he in your yard?
He's looking at me.
The guy is on foot.
I don't know what... He's big, real big person. That's all I can say.
Okay, if it is a person.
Yeah, I think it was a person or somebody real big.
Hey YouTube, it's your buddy Drew from Living History's Mysteries and the Midwest Parahistoric Society. You know, I am constantly asking if you have anything that you would like for us to do a story on, just get a hold of us. It makes my job a lot easier with a little bit of participation. I had a whole different video planned out for today. Something completely different. A little entertainment history. Quite honestly, one of the very first Twilight Zone episodes to ever air. A story about fate and how it deals its hand, whether good or bad. But I got a message last night in my email about a documentary that was done by a rather popular television series that was available if I wanted to use it. So I clicked the link and I watched this video a couple of different times, and I messaged the person back and I said, yeah, sure, I definitely would like to use this. And you guys know that later on this year our group is actually planning our own expedition into west central Michigan to hunt for, you know, the big guy. You know, September, middle of September till the middle of November is when the police departments and the news agencies and stuff are crowded. They're flooded with reports on Bigfoot. Hardly any other time of the year. So like I said, those of you that have been with the channel for a while know that me, Tommy Tombstone, possibly Randy, the girls, maybe Danny, maybe Mark, who knows who all's going to go. But we are going to go up and do our own expedition, do our own hunt, see what we can find up in Manistee State Forest. That's right up the lines of what this documentary is. This documentary is the most pronounced evidence to date on not only that famous 1960s video that was filmed that everybody yelled fake. This documentary not only completely sends that video off in an opposite direction with the evidence they find out using new technology, but some of the other research that's done, some of the other findings. So instead of me telling you all about it, let's check out this documentary on, you know, does Bigfoot really exist? I bet you guys enjoy this stuff. This is some pretty cool information right here. And it'll make you think. Let's check it out.
Part ape, part man. Indians call him Sasquatch. They believe he is as gentle as he is powerful and mysterious. He has been seen many times in the rugged mountains and deep woods of the Pacific Northwest. The encounters have not always been peaceful. In 1924, a small group of men were working a mine in a canyon near Mount St. Helens in Washington. One night, the miners took their weapons inside and bolted the door. They thought they were secure for the evening. Outside, something strange was happening. The cabin was under attack. Boulders rained on the roof, and someone, or something, was trying to break in. The miners later described their attackers as large, hairy apes.
Bigfoot is one of the most widely recognized creatures in the world, yet the scientific community says it does not exist. There are reports all over North America, but the epicenter seems to be Washington State, with over 800 documented sightings.
This thing weighed close to 400 pounds or more.
Had an extremely pointed head.
This thing was huge, 8-9 feet tall.
This noise was like nothing I've heard before.
I found 14.5-inch footprints. Eyewitnesses describe a human-like ape creature, up to 10 feet tall, broad-shouldered, hairy, and upright walking. But where is the evidence?
Now, we've thought of several ways that we might draw this animal in front of the camera.
Monster Quest will also examine existing evidence and what may be the strangest Bigfoot print of all.
The heel is much larger.
And in addition, two analyses will look at the most controversial piece of Bigfoot evidence. Critics say the Patterson footage shot in 1967 is fake. First, experts analyzed the footage to see if a man in a suit could possibly reproduce the creature's walk.
Yeah, so if it's real, then that's a funny gait.
Then a first. The Patterson footage has always been blurry, but now, using a digital microscope, we get the best look yet at the creature's face and make a startling discovery. The creature first made national news in 1958 when construction worker Jerry Crew found and cast footprints measuring 17.5 inches long near Bluff Creek, California, located 86 miles from Eureka. Locals nicknamed the creature Bigfoot, and the name stuck. Over the next decade, national interest in the story mostly faded until October 20th, 1967, when Roger Patterson, an amateur filmmaker, set out to Bluff Creek to do a documentary on a recent footprint discovery. But what Patterson found shocked the world. He shot 953 frames of film that many believe is the best evidence of Bigfoot. You will see that film in its entirety for one of the first times on television. Patterson passed away in 1972, never wavering from his story. But he was not alone on that fateful day.
A massive bicep in the arm was, wide like that. And as it moved, you could see the muscles ripping in the thighs. And the arms, even underneath that hair, you could see the difference in the movement.
Bob Gimlin was with Roger Patterson that day, and for almost 40 years was able to stay out of the limelight and controversy. But in 2004, he did this interview recounting that day in 1967.
The weather was great in October, so Roger said, let's ride back up some of them areas. We rode up that way, up that creek bed away from our camp, which was probably a couple of miles. As we came around, there's a big downfall tree with a root system in the dirt, like a crow's was walking away. Over the time we got the horses kind of settled down, and Roger ran across the creek, and Roger had the camera to his eye, and then he stumbled kind of and fell down on his knees, and then he got back up, and he ran over to a log that was a little ways away and stabilized himself on the log. And at that time, I rode across the creek on my horse and just sat over there. The creature makes a turn, slight turn with its shoulders and kind of looks back. That's when I rode across the creek on the horse. That's when it made that gesture. So I was looking at it from the back. There were some trees or vegetation that was getting between Roger and the creature, and he wanted to get a better and closer. So he relocated, and when he did, he asked me if I would cover him, which meant get the rifle and see, you know. There was no intent to shoot this thing at all. Then the creature just kept right on walking.
At the time, it was hard for Gimlin to determine just how large the creature was, but he did find footprints.
And people asked me, well, what do you think it weighed? And I thought, well, it takes a big man to weigh 350. So I said, probably 350 pounds. We weren't here when they got an impression gauge, and of course they estimate after that it was 700 or so pounds, or you know, it was tremendously heavier than I thought.
Patterson and Gimlin tracked the creature for miles, but never saw it again. And that's where the trail ended and the controversy began.
So much research has been done on the film by both myself and by scientists and by many other people, and everybody who really gets into that film says there's no way that whatever that is a man in the suit.
Over the years, numerous people have come forward claiming they were the man in the monkey suit. However, no one has ever been able to produce proof.
I'm not impressed by the stories of people who've come forward and said that they're the man in the suit. One particular gentleman doesn't even know how to get to the film site.
The controversy continues, and this episode of Monster Quest adds fuel to the fire by analyzing the footage like never before.
The film is just that. The film subject is an image on celluloid.
Owen Caddy is an expert in digital photography and has acquired the actual 16mm film shot by Roger Patterson.
To my great surprise, there was additional detail that apparently had never been seen before.
Caddy and fellow researcher Richard Knoll will use a high-resolution digital microscope to take a digital photo of each frame from the Patterson footage. If this image is really a man in a monkey suit, seams or fabric could become visible under microscopic examination. If it is a real animal, muscles or other biological identifiers may also appear. Another group of scientists is also looking at the Patterson footage.
Is this gate a human gate? Is it a non-human gate? Is it similar to something that we know or not?
Dr. Jürgen Konczak was an associate director of the Human Sensory Model Lab at the University of Minnesota when in 2004 he conducted an experiment as simple as taking a walk.
So what you do is, if you're down, you walk like this, and this is exactly what he's doing. This lab is devoted to motor control, to how people, humans, not only walk, but actually are able to move.
One hot topic of internet conversation is the wobbly gait or walk of the Patterson subject. Skeptics say it is a man having difficulty walking in a heavy, bulky monkey suit. But proponents say a human is not physically able to walk like this. The results of this experiment have never been revealed until now.
It seems to be, despite the size, a relatively smooth walk, and it doesn't seem to be like a lot of oscillations in terms of, you know, the center of gravity moving up or down.
Using an optic-electronic camera system, Dr. Konczak plans to compare the gait of the figure in the film with that of the
Swing your whole arm. Good. Now swing your whole leg. All right. There we go.
Paleoanthropologist Esteban Sarmiento from the American Museum of Natural History in New York is joining Dr. Konczak in the experiment. Sarmiento has studied large wild apes in Africa.
I am totally open-minded as to the question of Bigfoot existing in the Northwest. There has to be something to these reports.
For the test, an athlete with good range and muscle control has been chosen. He will try to match the gait of the creature, while his every movement is recorded frame by frame.
So what we have is these light bulbs that we've attached to some anatomical landmarks. They basically reflect infrared light that is sent out from LEDs next to the cameras. It's been reflected, and then the camera actually picks it up.
The computer then reconstructs the points of light as a three-dimensional figure.
Yeah, we see them all in all cameras, so that's good. His elbow, so this is fine, he has to...
Just bring his elbow
Kinesiology
out.
is the study of human movement and is fundamental in developing treatments for problems in the musculoskeletal system. The question before Dr. Irvin Concept and Dr. Esteban Sarmiento is, can a human replicate the gait of the thing in the Patterson film?
Is that okay now? Just let's check his legs and then I'll go up and bend his arms. Any bit?
Yeah, try to straighten out your back just a tiny bit.
That's it. What we're gonna do with this arm is we're gonna just pick up your shoulder just a little bit. Okay? Does that look a little bit better?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, lights off.
Recording. Move.
He's like a big plasticine doll. Right there, he's up. He's got this. See that? Yeah, he's up off the right there. He's totally up. That's, you see, like right there.
Yeah,
It's just like as high as he's ever gonna come.
Right.
And now he's gonna actually bring his leg through.
The most telling problem is in the subject's knee movement.
Yeah, that has to be backwards.
There's one sequence of frames in there, I think we're pretty good, and where you clearly see that there is this lateral rotation at the knee, and where the foot is kind of like, going outward, this which is called inversion. And that is something that it seems rather strange.
The unusual gait of the creature in the Patterson film has received considerable scrutiny. Skeptics say it is a man struggling to walk in a heavy monkey suit. But proponents claim it is impossible for a human to replicate the wobbly walk.
Shoulder markers are roughly around 5 feet, so we'll go a little further, it should be fine.
Dr. Konzak wants to see if this athlete is able to put his body into the seemingly awkward positions of the Patterson subject. If he can, then it is reasonable to assume the walk could be replicated, and it could be a man in a monkey suit. However,
if you look at this gait, I think we can clearly say it is not the walk of the large ape that we know today.
Said he doesn't walk like a human and he doesn't walk like an ape.
the athlete couldn't do it. He could not walk like whatever or whoever was caught on film. Another group of researchers believe they too have evidence of Bigfoot.
I consider the Skookum expedition to be one of the most important expeditions in the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomena.
Alan Terry is a member of a group of Bigfoot researchers and wildlife biologists who in 2000 set out to a remote spot in the shadow of Mount St. Helens, Washington called Skookum Meadows to find evidence of the creature.
What led us to the Skookum expedition site was a line of treetops that were snapped off as in a trail.
Apes are known to break branches to mark territory to ward off other males. Encouraged that they were on the right track, they baited a trap for the beast. They set out apples in a large mud wallow, hoping to lure the creature in and leave footprints as evidence of its visit. It worked.
Some of the bait was taken, and a large impression was left behind in the soft mud. The impression looked like a large humanoid creature with a very long flowing hair, and it was considerably heavy as it had left a very deep impression into the mud.
The imprint appears to be the lower half of the animal's body, painstakingly preserved with nearly 200 pounds of plaster. animal reached for the apples, forearm, buttock, and lower legs sunk into the mud, and they found hair detail on all parts of the cast. But the most revealing detail was in a partial heel print. There were dermal ridges, the tiny lines that make unique fingerprints in all primates.
In Bigfoot research, we consider the Skookum cast to be one of the most important finds, probably second only to the Patterson-Gimlin film.
The Skookum cast was found in a valley called Skookum Meadows near Mount St. Helens, Washington, located 150 miles from Seattle in the Cascade Mountains, and 330 miles from where the Patterson footage was shot in Northern California. Paul Kane was a traveling artist, capturing scenes across the northwestern frontier in the 1840s. While in an area that is now Washington State, Kane made a journal entry describing Native American accounts of an ape-like creature they called Skookum. March 26, 1847. We arrived at the mouth of the Kattlepoutal River, 26 miles from Fort Vancouver. I stopped to make a sketch of the volcano, Mount St. Helens. Distant, I suppose, about 30 or 40 miles. This mountain has never been visited by either whites or Indians. The latter assert that it is inhabited by a race of beings of a different species, who are cannibals, and whom they hold in great dread.
They say that the Skookum is a giant. He is hairy. He eats people. They will not go where he lives.
The fearsome behavior of the Skookum does not seem to match modern-day descriptions as a creature that is shy, elusive, and yet curious. Properly cast impressions can leave revealing detail, but determining what left the hair and bony imprints is another story. Some experts believe the Skookum cast could have been made by a known animal.
Yeah, I'd be particularly interested in seeing that of an elk.
Dr. Daris Swindler is a primate anatomist. He wants to do a comparison between an impression he made of the lower leg of an elk and what is believed to be the same anatomy from the Skookum cast. Elk frequent mud wallows to cool off and deter insects, and when lying down, an elk might make an impression similar to that made by a large primate.
But there is some similarity, I must confess. I'd like to be able to dissect this and just see how much of this is the muscle and how much is tendon.
Owen Caddy is joining Swindler to see if there is anything in the cast that might cause the wobbly walk or slumped posture seen in the Patterson footage. They focus on the Skookum leg cast.
Angle here is very different slope.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some talk of maybe this is a feature from a slump, but nevertheless,
That's what I was wondering before.
this is concave, and this is convex on the elk. I don't know that a slump would totally change it from a concave to a convex surface.
Yeah, that's a good point, really.
The other section to show a substantial difference is the Achilles tendon.
Again, the shapes are quite different.
Well, this is much more vertical.
Yeah, much more vertical, rounded.
The differences between the two specimens would indicate that the Skookum impression was not made by an elk. But what about a primate? According to Swindler, the thick matted hair detail is not human, and the size and shape of the leg does not match any other known primate. Skeptics of Bigfoot say that evidence like the Skookum cast and the Patterson footage would be more believable if it had been discovered and collected by wildlife biologists. But many of these discoveries have been first reported by laymen.
For 100 years, the natives reported big gorillas in the jungle in Rwanda, and yet it wasn't until 1950 that they were found. Certainly this area is as vast as that, and so who can rule out the possibility that something like that couldn't exist here? I think it's possible.
What about the microscopic images of the Patterson footage? The enhancements are now done, and for the first time ever, new detail will be seen. The original 16mm film is being examined on a microscopic level. researcher Owen Caddy used a digital microscope to take pictures of individual frames of the film. Joining Caddy is Dr. Daris Swindler. They are viewing the comparisons for the first time. They look first at the legs for any detail that might be compared with the Skookum cast.
That was sort of interesting, but here's where they start to get really pretty interesting.
Unfortunately, it's too grainy.
So Daris, you can see here on this image, it's just the full color image digitally pulled off the film.
But as they focus their attention on the subject's head, they make an amazing discovery.
And as you look at the enhanced one, you can see that the level of detail has been pulled out, and you can
get individual parts of the face.
Yeah, you can resolve the individual parts of the face, the nostrils, the mouth.
When the original film is blown up to a headshot of the creature, the image becomes just a fuzzy blob. But when the enhanced digital image is blown up to the same size, the new details emerge.
You can see the eyelids move up and down. That's muscle there around there, the circular muscle called the vicularis oris. Particularly well developed was the masseter, this big muscle over here that moves the jaw.
And this is the most interesting sequence of the mouths opening and closing. What's interesting in that it shows the movement of the mouth and the sides of the face and the lips. So there's quite a bit resolved, and there's actually a lot of detail that is consistent from frame to frame, and you get a consistent facial morphology looking at multiple frames. People have often thought of the film subject's mouth as being higher up than it actually is.
And you see how that can happen too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's a picture of Pan, a chimpanzee, and you think that the mouth is actually where this dark line is, but it's actually below that in the deep shadow. There's a similar analogy here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very If it had been a mask on some animal, a human or something like that, it was a well-fabricated mask, I'll say that, which I sort of doubt now more than I would have back in those days.
I don't see anything that stands out and glaringly says fake, you know. The way the mouth can move and even makes facial expressions that are similar to those of chimpanzees, like the compressed lip display. I don't know who would think of that.
Bob Gimlin, who is the only living eyewitness from that day in 1967, is certain of what he saw.
I was watching the creature and it was walking away, but I could see the face real good and I could see the eyes.
Somebody once told me, you never use a bigger hammer than you need for the job, and I imagine if they're going to film with 16 millimeter, they're not going to be concerned with details that fine. I don't think anyone would have anticipated the ability to come back 40 years later and do photo enhancements to show details this great.
I really regretted that I was there and saw it because of the ridicule and because of my wife being upset at me and practically thinking about divorcing me because of the thing, and the people saying they fake this and fake that, and it bothers a person. There's no way it can keep from bothering you if you've got a conscience.
Welcome back. Like I said in the beginning, there's some pretty cool evidence they bring out here, using that new technology to analyze that old 1960s video of that grainy Bigfoot walking through the forest by that creek bed, and everybody yelled, "No, that's just a person in a suit." But they've actually proven the fact that the gait, the walk of this thing caught on film could not possibly be a person in a suit. with the analyzation done, not of the body because it's so grainy, but of the head and the facial structure and stuff. Even paleontologists and modern scientists are starting to agree that either this is a real member of the great ape family, or this was the most advanced mask, even more advanced for that time period that it was created. Is Bigfoot real? Does he really exist? I'm starting to think there's some pretty good evidence that there's something out there. And you know, it's like they stated in this documentary. Sometimes you don't know what is in the environment until you happen to accidentally come upon it. What can you say? But that's all I got for you guys. As always, thank you for checking out the video. Definitely put your comments, your thoughts, your beliefs down in the comments section. And again, if you have things that you want us to look into, things that you want us to do videos on, let us know. We're more than happy to make you happy. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. We'll see you on down the road.